here. All right. So it is 5 o'clock on Thursday, July 22nd. Wow. July is going so fast for me. I don't know what happened to July this year. It's going really fast. So we are really excited to see everyone today. I'm going to just say hello. I'm Laura or Laura, which sounds so much better. And I'm going to have my colleagues just say hello really quick and wave their hand. And then I'm sure Professor Valdez will have a couple of words and we'll get started. So I'm going to, how about Cora?
Cora, great to see you again.
Yay, Eleanor.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're doing well this week.
Frederick.
Hello, everyone. Frederick Lim. Nice to see you again.
Galia.
Hi, it's Galia. Nice to see everyone again.
Yeah, Galia. Hannah. Hannah's outside.
Hi, I'm Hannah. Nice to see everyone again.
And Kelly.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. I'm excited to be here with you tonight.
And Sarah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah. Nice to be with you.
Yay. So we have our 7 co-teachers. We'll be having a chance to be with them a couple of times today. And if you can, as usual, make sure that you have your microphone on mute, unless we call on you to speak. And I'm going to just ask Professor Valdez if he has anything he wants to say before we jump in.
Basically, I just want to welcome everybody. And again, remind them that they should keep their phones muted unless asked to do otherwise. We'll be holding a meeting later this weekend about the upcoming school year. But let's go ahead with Laura, and then we'll talk about that later. Go ahead, Laura.
Okay, great. All right, so we're gonna jump into it tonight. And I'm excited. This is, well, I say it's my favorite topic every time, but I like all these topics. They're a lot of fun, which we're talking tonight about vocabulary. So hopefully we will leave tonight with a few ideas, maybe remembering something or maybe something new that you can try. All right. So last time we were together, we talked about pronunciation, and you did beautiful activities on listening and pronunciation on your Padlets. So definitely take a look at those. Remember that we have a Padlet that shows us everything happening in this class. And for every group, you have your own assignments that you've been posting, which are wonderful. So when we talked about pronunciation, we talked about how pronunciation doesn't just happen. It's something that we have to plan for, really spend time with. We talked about the use of mirrors, really being able to see mouth position is really helpful for learning pronunciation. We talked about being able to listen for sounds before we try to say those sounds, and how pronunciation really leads to good reading and writing skills as well, because we can hear and say the words. It makes it easier for us to read and write. So we did pronunciation, we've done listening, we've done speaking, and you've posted some activities. And now we're moving sort of in between listening, speaking, towards reading and writing, which we'll do next week. And vocabulary kind of fits through all of it, okay? So what I want you to do, I want you to think about how beautiful vocabulary is, and think of some words that you just love in English. You like the sound of them, or maybe you like the meaning of them, or maybe they just sound cool to you. If you can use the chat and post those words, and I'm going to do something over here while you're doing it. I'm going to choose some of your words, and I'm going to type them in. Okay, ooh, inevitable. Okay, I'm going to put in marvelous. Oh, amazing got a couple. So I'm going to change this to 2 because there's a couple people who said amazing. Breathtaking. Ooh, that's a good one. Let's see, what else? Friendship. What other words do you like in English? Beautiful. These are very positive words, I must say. Gorgeous. So you see I'm typing these words in over here as you're typing them in the chat. Ooh, tremendous.
Someone wrote mesmerized.
Mesmerized. Okay, so let's keep with the chat. Mesmerized. Devoted.
I just saw cutie pie. I love that one.
Cutie pie, that's a great one. Is that 2 words? I think so. That's a 2-part word. Blessed. Oh, Josiah, baby. Okay. Reinforce. Oh, that's a nice one. All right, let's see. Let's see a couple more words that you really like in English. Now, I see awesome is getting a couple of, I don't have awesome yet, so let me put that one in there. Awesome. I'm going to give that one, I think I've seen that 3 times. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do now, so you can see that I've typed them in here on this tool called Word Art. Okay. And what I'm going to do now, I like powerful. I'm going to put that one in. Okay. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click. Do you see this red button that says visualize? This red button here. Okay, I'm going to click it. Here we go. Now it's going to turn all of your beautiful words into a word art. So I made it the shape of a heart, and it has the words that you've given me, but some of the words are bigger. So you see English vocabulary got really big because I put size 10 times, so it magnified it. So this is a wonderful tool called wordart.com. Maybe you can just post that in the chat for me. And it's totally free. And it's something you could do at home with students' words and print it out, or students can make them. And that's the beauty of vocabulary. There's some really wonderful words and expressions out there that we want to make sure our students can learn. So we're going to actually have an early breakout room time today. And if you have maybe your phone and you want to take a picture of these questions, and maybe you can also help me, my co-host, posting them in the chat, I want you to think about when you were learning English in school, when you were a young student, how did you learn your vocabulary? I want you to think about also question 2, how do you learn vocabulary now? You know, even, of course, yes, I speak English, but I don't know every word in English. I'm still learning new words. And in Spanish, you also see a word, maybe it's in the newspaper or a book, and you say, what is that word? So we're always learning in our native language and in English. And I want you to also think about question 3, which is how you learned vocabulary when you were a student. Does it influence how you teach vocabulary now? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you in 7 rooms. The rooms are a little big, but you'll have a teacher there. And they're going to ask the questions again and give you a chance to share some of your ideas. So my teachers, I'd like to give people enough time to really kind of think about their own thoughts, you know, around vocabulary, learning and their teaching practices. So I'm going to say about 6-7 minutes, but I'm going to be on the WhatsApp with you. So if it's like, oh, we're done or we need more time, you can let me know. All right. So about 6-7 minutes in the breakout rooms. I am going to open the rooms now. That means you have to look for join breakout room and join it. Okay, we ready? All right, beautiful people. Awesome. Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah.
Opening the rooms. And I will ask you to head off to your rooms to discuss. All right. And just hit join breakout room. Hopefully that works for you. So I see people here. So I'm hoping that you're able to find the breakout room link. So you want to look for join breakout room. Join breakout room and jump over there. So you
Miss
can,
Laura, could you please
yes,
send Hi, how are you?
how are you?
Give me the invitation to go into the breakout room because I have a little problem with my internet connection and
I know. Sometimes people have, I did send the invitation to everybody. So
Okay.
it's there. You should look for breakout room on your toolbar. Sometimes it's under more. If you look for more, like there's those 3 dots and it will say breakout room.
Oh my goodness.
If you are not able to join the breakout room, you can just put your answers in the chat, okay? Hopefully you can join the room so you can have a conversation. But if you're having trouble, just go on mute, just relax, just put your answers in the chat for question 1, 2, 3. That's totally fine too. Wonderful. All right. So the questions are up here, 1, 2, 3, and I'll let you put those answers into the chat if you are not able to join the rooms. You can turn off your video if that helps you to get your breakout room link for your internet connection. Okay. Let me just double check the rooms. If you are here and you did not go to a breakout room, that's Edinson, Aurea, Danelis, Aniuli, Renato, Ricardo, Carmen, there's a lot of you here. If you cannot join a breakout room, please participate by posting your ideas in the chat, okay? Answer the questions in the chat. That would be great. Okay. Wow, we got a whole batch of people coming in late. Okay. See if I can put you in a breakout room. Okay. So we are in a breakout room now, for those of you who are just coming in. And let's see, signups. So of course. Wonderful. Thank you for answering the question. So like Tanito Delana Fortuna, I see you there, but you're not in a breakout room. So I'm guessing maybe it's an internet problem. So feel free to just type your answers into the chat to those 3 questions. That's totally fine too. Okay.
Yes, okay, I'm here. I have some problem with the internet, but I'm
Yes.
here.
So please just type your answers in the chat. Can you use the chat?
Yes.
Okay. So just put your answers there to those 3 questions. So you're not just
Okay.
sitting there, you know? And
Okay.
that's the same for everyone. You're here, but we want you to engage. If you cannot join a breakout room, please just type your ideas, you know, in the chat so I can see what you're thinking. Thank you.
Okay, okay, no problem.
Awesome. Thank you, Tanito.
Yeah, thank you, Laura.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Room 6. Okay, room 7. All right, wonderful. Excellent. So some of you are here, you're not in a breakout room because you probably came in late. So just take a look at the questions that we have here and type your answers, your ideas in the chat to those, either of those questions, 1 or 2 or 3.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, Edward. How are you?
Hi, thank you.
Good.
So I was in group 5. Can you please? Can I be?
Okay, let me try to put you there again, okay? There you go. Okay. Yes, Jose. Jose del Carmen, go ahead.
Okay. I haven't learned new vocabulary teaching in class and sometimes reading the Bible because I use reading the Bible in English language. And every day I try to search and reading much. And when I get a knowledge words, I try to looking for the meaning to understand what I am reading.
That's a way that you learn English even now, is from your reading, especially with the Bible. You see new words there, and then what do you do when you see the new word?
Okay, I look by some dictionary and sometimes I'm looking for by internet because both of them are okay. Because sometimes when you look at the word by internet, you know the meaning of the word, but when you search the dictionary words, you understand where the meaning exactly.
Yes. So sometimes the dictionary is difficult, right? If you go to a dictionary, Jose, sometimes probably some of the words in the dictionary are not the ones for that situation or context, right? How do you figure out which one is the right one? Which meaning?
Repeat again.
How do you decide which one is correct? Like if you're using a dictionary.
Because I think when you are looking for by internet, in some occasion, the page by internet, given the meaning, but not exactly how to say, at the moment and time, because there are some times that when you translate any words, okay, you don't have the exactly meaning when the topic meaning is, because there are many words that have different meaning. But when you try to looking for by the dictionary, okay, you can know the meaning exactly that you are looking for.
Yes.
But okay, by internet only giving you some meaning that sometimes you you cannot understand where the meaning of the topic you are reading to.
Yes, yes. So what you're bringing up is really important, because you're saying that, learning new vocabulary, just looking in a dictionary isn't always enough. You have to know a lot to use a dictionary well. You have to understand a lot of what the situation or the context is. And sometimes it gives you a definition that isn't exactly what really you wanted or you need. So yeah, I see some hands going up, which is great. I wanted to hear just a little bit. It's important, I think, whenever we're teaching English, if it's listening,
Okay.
speaking,
I think
grammar. Oh, I'm sorry. Someone's talking. Whenever we're about to teach English, whether it's listening or speaking or vocabulary, that we think about, are we teaching exactly how we were taught, or are we trying things in a different way? Sometimes we want to use the ways we were taught. Sometimes we want to try different ways, and we want to be aware of how we learn new words across our whole life, so that we love vocabulary. We want vocabulary is like the pearls on a necklace. We want to keep adding more and more in Spanish and in English until we're heavy with beautiful pearls. So we want our students to feel that they're getting richer and richer in words as they learn. So let's do a little reflection. Let me call on Arelis. Arelis, if you want to unmute.
Yes.
Yeah, what are any of your thoughts on 1, 2, or number 3?
Well, we were talking about number 1. We were talking about, in my case, I used to learn listening to music and watching TV. That was my case when I was kid. And now I used to read a lot and underline with the highlighter the words I don't understand, because as an adult, sometimes I find words that don't let me out loud and continue the reading, and I don't understand. So I use highlighter and used to look for a dictionary. And the way I teach now, I really like to label my classroom and use Cognates. I think that using Cognates is an easy word to teach them vocabulary, because Cognates are words related to their native tongue or mother. So they used to, for example, television, they look on, oh yes, television. And I say, the word television, can you imagine what is? Of course, teacher, like in Spanish, television. So I like to use Cognates.
Wonderful. So you brought up a lot of things, Annalise, about how you learned, let's say, through video. And so then you can say, well, I learned a lot with video. Oh, how was I learning that? Was it that I saw the video a few times? Did I understand the story? Was there a subtitle? How can I bring that to the classroom? And you also talked about Cognates, which
I love it.
Beautiful thing of you share, at least part of English is a Latin-based language. So we do embrace that. It helps break down the barriers. Wonderful. Let me call on Heriberto. Heriberto, what are your, you won the lottery. You won the lottery. I wish I really
Yes.
like a gold, I don't know, ticket, a check. But yes, please tell us some of your thoughts on question 1, 2, or 3.
Well, actually, the question was, how did you learn vocabulary as a student of a foreign language? Actually, the way I learned was with a list of words, and it really influenced me how I teach vocabulary, because I know this is not the correct way to learn vocabulary.
Oh,
the way I like it is like in context, like with short story, showing them a short story. I mean, reading them so they can read as well a short story, so and they can take out the new words and they can learn that in context.
Very good, Heriberto. Well, when you said, oh, I learned using lists, I thought you were going to say, and I love lists and I use them because I'm going to talk about lists tonight. But you said what I agree with. Okay, great. How about Rosa Ortiz? Tell us any of your thoughts on 1, 2, or 3.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So the first question I learned by the traditional way, like repeating, and also with a list. That was the one. And in the number 2, how do you learn new vocabulary now? So now, especially normally what I do is listen to music. And also when I teach new words, I learn. Because sometimes we are going to teach a topic, and sometimes we don't know like every words, and we have to study it before. So I learn a lot like this. And number 3, Laura?
No, I think that's interesting. I love that because, I think that's true, that when you teach something, you really learn it. And sometimes we are teaching content or maybe a topic or vocabulary that we don't really know too well, but we're going to learn really well when we have to teach it. Very good.
That's great. Yeah. Okay, number 3, does your answer wanted to influence how you teach vocabulary now? I don't think so, because we have to use new strategies. For example, what do I do? If I have a topic like commands, I normally use to make mimics to the students. I sit down, I stand up, and so on. And that's a very good strategy. And also I show them flashcards. For example, we are going to talk about the fruits. I show them the fruits, but I don't show them the word. So that's what I normally do with my students now.
So they're really listening for the words before they're matching them up. Nice. That's great.
That's it.
That's great. Thank you
All
so
right.
much, Rosa.
You're welcome.
I'm trying to go man, woman, male, female, gentleman, lady, back and forth. So I'm going to call on Richard Ramirez. How you doing, Richard? And tell us how are you? Any thoughts you have on vocabulary, your experience as a learner of vocabulary, and how does it connect to you being a teacher of vocabulary?
Well, my experience when I was a student, I used to make lists lists of vocabulary, and I practice every day, new words. I used to learn by like 10 to 20 words every day, practicing. And I love listening to music. So it was a very good way of learning new words, because you keep interested in those words that you hear, those new words, you don't know what it means, and you want to know.
Yes.
So in that way, I really was linked with those words and learning new words. How do you learn new vocabulary now? Where I used to watch a movie and series, documentary, and those things that really help a lot. You know, when you got a higher level, you need to improve your listening strategy in order to get more words. So in that way, I really try to keep in my English vocabulary, new word, really improving and more. And the first question, that's your answer to number one, influence in your teach vocabulary, where I think is influence in some way, but I try to get new way to learn vocabulary and to teach to my students how they can get more words in English using picture, using videos, relating those words with the context, and relating those words with images. So in that way, they can keep the words or the vocabulary much better, and use those words in his everyday life.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Richard. And
You're welcome.
I find too, when I listen to, let's say, like you said, documentaries, or those are things, maybe the subject or the content is new. So there's going to be maybe science vocabulary or history, things that I don't know, even in my own language. So we're always learners, and that's as you, as teachers, continue to learn and reflect on words, you will be able to bring that love of words, love of language learning to your students. And I know so many of you want to share your ideas and your thoughts, and I hate to stop you, but I do want to make sure that we really get into some ways of teaching vocabulary tonight. I'm going to ask you to put your hands down. I am going to call on Kelly, because I think this is Kelly's last night with us, if I'm right. And I was wondering, Kelly, can you think of a Spanish word or phrase that maybe you learned from a song? Because I know you listen to a lot of music in Spanish.
You're right, Laura, and you put me on the spot here. I did share with my group that Camilo is one of my favorite artists, and he has a new album out. And oh, you put me on the spot here, but one of his favorite songs that one of his songs that's my favorite is called Vida de Rico, which is about, I'm sure everybody knows it's that, you know, we don't have such a crazy, rich, extravagant life, but our life is so rich is basically how the song goes. So the chorus says, no es vida de rico, pero se pasa bien rico. So it's not a crazy, rich, extravagant life, but it's beautiful. And I liked that song taught me that double meaning of that word rico, right? And we use it so often, and I would always use it to describe food. But it was a different way that he used it that really taught me, you know, the deeper meaning of the adjective.
Oh, that's beautiful. So even knowing some of the meanings of, let's say, a word like rico, you can expand to more meanings or even expressions. And we continue to learn. So I'm going to ask you to hold all those great thoughts. We're going to keep on exploring vocabulary teaching tonight. And I hear wind from somebody. I'm not sure who. But maybe you can figure it out. Okay, so what I'm going to have you do, somebody can just look in the participant panel. There's somebody on mute. Okay, I want you just to get a piece of paper, okay? Something, or, you know, someplace you can write or on your phone, because I don't want you to use the chat. And actually, I think I can disable the chat. I think. So hopefully that's going to help. So I want you to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put number 1 to 5 on your paper, or you can type it, you know, on somewhere. All right. And what we're going to do is I'm going to give you 5 statements about teaching vocabulary, and you're going to decide, is it true or false? So you just have to put true or false. Okay. And don't post it to the chat. Just post it right here, okay? Are we good? If your video is on, can you give me thumbs up so I can see you? Give me thumbs up. All right, beautiful people. Johanny Cabrero, you're good? All right, lady, here we go. So, true or false? Vocabulary is best taught as a list of single words with definitions. Okay. So put your answer on your sheet, and we're going to go to the next one. Number 2, true or false? Students should be choosing their own vocabulary to learn. Students should be choosing their own vocabulary to learn. Okay, so just put true or false. Don't put it in the chat so you keep your ideas. Okay. Number 3, true or false. Guessing words from context is an excellent strategy for learning vocabulary in a foreign language. Rosa is holding up her paper. Keep it secret, because we'll copy off of you, Rosa. Okay. Number 4, true or false? Pre-teaching vocabulary before an activity is an effective use of instructional time. Okay. And number 5, true or false? Students can just use a translator app or Google Translate, so they don't need as much vocabulary as they used to in the past. True or false? Okay. So let's go back here and let's see what we think. All right. So number 1, true or false? Okay. So if you would like to put in the chat what you think, true or false, let's see what you think. All right. You can pop a TF, or you can write the word true or false, whatever you want. I'm just curious, and I'll go kind of quickly. So for number 1, what do we have? You can put it in the chat. All right. Okay, so we have some false, we have some true. Okay. How about number 2? Students should be choosing their own vocabulary. True, false. Okay, we got a mix. Number 3, guessing words from context. I'm hearing someone's off the mute again. Let's see. There we go. All right. And number 4, pre-teaching vocabulary. Pre-teaching vocabulary before an activity is an effective use of time. 4 is true, okay? And number 5, is 5 true or false? What do you think? 5 is, some say false, some say true, some say false. Okay, great. Now, let's see. Some of you who know me know that this is something that I like to do to make people crazy. They're all false. They're all false. But, well, I'm going to explain a little what I mean by that. So maybe there's something true in there, but we're going to be a little extreme today and just say that they're false, okay? Just to kind of get us thinking in new ways, jostle our brain. So, number 1, vocabulary is best taught not as a single word, but in a phrase. How it's used. So when we give a student just the word, a lot of times, have you noticed when they try to write a sentence, doesn't make any sense? They don't use the word very well because we haven't given them a sense of, is this a verb? Is this a noun? What usually goes around the word? So we want to actually teach words in phrases, not as single words, okay? Students should be very active in their vocabulary learning. Students should make choices in terms of their own vocabulary notebooks and evaluating themselves. But students don't always know what the essential vocabulary is. They might say, Miss, I want to know about this word, and they get a lot of time in class explaining a word that maybe is not that important, a word they're not going to use very much. So teachers are very important in deciding what words are going to be important to use. Number 3, when we tell students to just guess the word using everything around it, it's not a great strategy because, number 1, to guess correctly, we have to really know 95% of all the other words in the paragraph. So if we understand everything, then the one word we can sort of guess. But number 2, guessing isn't teaching. When students guess and the teacher doesn't check, students think a word means something that it doesn't. They don't understand how it's used or where it's used. So it's important for teachers to present definitions or work with students to find them, but not using guessing. Okay, pre-teaching. A lot of teachers like to do pre-teaching. So we're going to read something today, and they tell you all the words, and then the students start the reading and they forgot all the definitions. By the time you start reading, I don't remember, teacher, what the definition was, so I have to look at it while I'm reading. Also, if I decide, well, Conrado, these are the words, maybe he knows them already. Those weren't useful words for me to pre-teach. I have to wait till I get to that point in the story and see where he is at. And number 5, when you are out, as you know, and you are speaking with someone who is an English speaker, you don't have time to go and do Google Translate for everything you're listening to or you want to say. Or if you're, like you were saying, watching a movie, you can't look up every word. You want to have as large a vocabulary as possible. It's the most powerful element of being able to learn and interact in English, even more important than grammar, because the grammar pieces are very important, but if you don't have enough vocabulary, you can't understand and you can't sustain conversation. So let's take a look tonight at what we need to know as teachers to be really excellent at vocabulary teaching, okay? We need to know what is vocabulary, how words are learned, what knowing a word means, how to select vocabulary, and of course, how to provide instruction. So we will do some activities, but I also want you to have a very good foundation in understanding vocabulary, because you already have many, many fun activities, flashcards and games and many things to learn. But I think that's should come after we really understand more about vocabulary. So in the chat, if you were to tell me, what does it mean to know a word? What do you need to know a word? Knowing a word means what? Knowing the words blank. So give me some ideas in the chat for what you think knowing a word means. Okay, so I see its use here. Knowing how to use it in a context. Okay. The definition, Kayla says. The category, the structure of the word. Wonderful. Okay, so you have wonderful ideas here. Excellent. So you're hitting on these many aspects of knowing a word. Okay? Knowing a word means knowing the meaning and meanings of the word. English words have multiple meanings, many of them. We need to know the connotation of the word. A connotation is something like, do I tell someone that they're skinny or that they're slender? Which one is positive? Which one is negative? All right. I need to know the spelling of the word. I need to know how to say the word to know the word. I need to know the part of speech. Am I dealing with a thing, or is this an action or an adverb? I need to know, is this a word that is very commonly used, very frequently used, or is this a very unusual word? I need to know, as you said before, appropriate. Where should I use this word? Do I use this word with my friends or with the principal of the school? And I also need to know, and this is number 7, is what teachers, I think, need to spend more time on, and that is the collocation. Collocation is the other words that usually go with the word. Okay, we often leave that out. In fact, my daughter was she's doing a practice test, and she didn't know this expression. I'm going to put it in the chat. She's a native English speaker. She didn't know this expression, to take a liking to. Okay, she knows like, of course, and she knows take, but she doesn't know the expression. So giving students longer strings or expressions are also really important, words that go with other words. I'm going to give you a word in the chat, okay? It's a little unusual. Maybe some of you will say, I don't know that word. Some of you are going to know it. I want you to tell me the words that you think go before this word, almost always in English. The word is fathom. Maybe that's a new word. If you know the word, what does that usually go with? Lorena. Lorena said can't. Okay. Okay. So fathom means to imagine something. Okay. So maybe you have a new word for today. That's great. So to fathom is almost always with I cannot fathom. I cannot believe this. So if you just teach the word, students don't know how to use it in the ways that we mostly use the word. So collocations are very important for that. Okay. Vocabulary. So we know that vocabulary could be a single word, but a lot of times it is a compound word. Sometimes in English, those compound words are together, like tablecloth. Sometimes there's a space, like coffee cup. So usually maybe there's a historical reason, but nobody knows why. So they're, first of all, words that are compound words. We also have a lot of these word strings. It's impossible to imagine. Okay. We have connectors. We have fixed phrases. We have phrasal verbs. I know you love those, right? To throw out, to throw up, that's very different. Okay. So that is a huge challenge for learners of English. And of course, our idioms. Idioms take up almost half of conversations and written text. Almost half, about 40%. There's so much use of idioms. People don't even, they can't even imagine, they can't even fathom it. So, and idioms are also very time sensitive. So my daughter, she knows the expression to let the cat out of the bag. Do any of you know to let the cat out of the bag, what that means? Dilio, you want to unmute? What does that mean?
Well, to me, it means like letting know the truth.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you had a secret that was supposed to be kept secret, but you let the cat out of the bag. You let the secret come out, right? Perfect, Ilya. Excellent. And what about throw in the towel? Anybody know this expression, to throw in the towel?
Yes, teacher, I can say it.
Yeah, tell me.
It's like giving up.
Yeah, it's like giving up. It's like giving up. But my daughter did not know throw in the towel. That was an expression she hadn't heard before. So some of these expressions, maybe you'll find them in literature and not so much in use, and there'll be new ones that are constantly coming out in use. So vocabulary, the first thing we're thinking of tonight, forget single words. Think about words in strings, in chunks, okay? High and low. So we have words that we call tier 1. They're just basic words, hand, house, telephone, good. Then we have more academic words, which we would put as tier 2 words. Mostly you're working with tier 1 and tier 2 words with your students. Tier 3 might be words that are specific, let's say to science or music or math. And there are tier 4 words that nobody really knows. Most English speakers with educations don't know these words. Okay, so I'm actually going to put my teachers on the spot. Do any of my teachers know any of these words? Dysphemism, frangible, eudaimonia, or bêtise, and you can't Google it, all right? Are any of those words familiar words? No.
Bêtise looks like a French word.
Okay, it looks like a French word. So what happens is you start to use that word root. So Frederick starts to say, this feels like, or maybe dysphemism, you'll say that's a Greek root. I'm going to figure this word out from roots, but you don't get too far. So I'm not going to tell you what those mean, but you can play with them. Yeah, and you say frangible looks like something. It feels like something. But we're always learning words, so I'll let them have fun trying to find those. Okay. Now, the crazy hard thing also about English, besides the phrasal verbs and the fact that our words don't pronounce well, is we have a lot of multiple meanings. So can you in the chat post any meanings you can think of, especially Esther Pettis? Yes, Esther, how you doing, lady? What meanings can you think of for the word table in English? It's a simple word, right? What are some of the meanings? Okay, so we have desk. Okay, a chart. Okay, nice. A piece of furniture. Very good. Statistics, like a table. Okay, nice. All right, so let's take a look. So a lot of people have put, this wood desk, or piece of furniture, as you said. Some of you talked about a table as like putting data, statistics. Okay, very nice. All right, so let's see. Table. These are all the different meanings of table that we have in English. So we have a piece of furniture. That was the number one thing you all said. There's a piece of furniture. But it's also like a water table or a geographic table. A table in a mountain range is a flat area. A list you all talked about. It's also a verb, to table. To table something is to postpone it, okay? I can also table my data. I can use it as an adjective, a table topper, a table setting. And of course, there are a lot of idioms, to turn the tables on someone, okay? Or he made the offer under the table. He drank me under the table. Okay, so there's a lot of meanings, even for really simple words. Now, we're not going to teach all of those to a student at the same time, no, but we want students to realize that words do have different meanings. So let's say Elias Moreno, he tells his student, go to the dictionary. Well, they open it and they copy a definition that is not what he wanted, right? Because there's so many different meanings. So we want students to be aware of that. Okay. How do we know about word learning? What's really, really exciting is that there has been so much research on the brain using these MRIs. So they do scans of the brain while someone is reading or while someone is listening, and they see where in the brain different words are sparking, are creating a signal to the memory, right? So we know a lot more about how words are learned. We know that our brain, when we hear a word, so remember the word fathom that I talked about before? I can't fathom, I can't imagine. That word fathom has created one neural pathway, one little road, little paseo in the brain, okay? But if you never caminar por este paseo, jamás, you're never going to remember fathom. But if tomorrow you try to do something with fathom, what was fathom? Oh, it means imagine. I can't imagine. I can't fathom. And you're going to hear it. You're going to see it. And you're going to create more and more of these little paseos in your mind. And it's going to become a word that you remember. Also, and we know we need to do that 10 to 12 times before something can really sort of create this paseo in our mind, all right? We also know that experiences influence. We're together tonight on this Zoom, and Laura was talking about fathom. I can't imagine, I can't fathom. That experience is going to connect to your memory of that word. In maybe a few weeks, you see that word, you're going to remember this moment, because we learn words with strong experience associations. When you were talking before about doing TPR, you know, a house, a tree, a bird, when you make a movement, it helps you remember because it's an experience, just like drawing a picture or acting out. Okay, I want to show you a video that I think is amazing that shows how the brain is really learning words. The video is 3 minutes. I hope that's not too long. I hope you won't fall asleep watching the video. I think it's very interesting. And I think it helps us remember that need to bring words or vocabulary many more times, much more repetition for our students to learn. Okay, here we go. Hopefully the sound is good.
This is a map of someone's brain, showing roughly which areas respond when they hear different words. For example, there's a small area in the middle frontal gyrus that reliably responds to hearing the word top. But it's not just one word, one location. A single word can activate a whole range of different brain regions. So we find the word top in a bit of brain that seems to respond to words associated with clothing and appearances. But also here with numbers and measurements, and here with buildings and places. We usually think of language as being restricted to certain sections, like the temporal lobe. So researchers were surprised to find activity all across the brain and in both hemispheres. The map was made by scientists at the University of California, Berkeley. They put volunteers in an MRI scan and had them listen to stories for 2 hours.
Back to the front again. Deep, deep. Pulls out a pack of that have been laundered at least once.
By monitoring blood flow to different parts of the brain, they worked out which places were responding to the meaning of the words, the semantics. They found that different bits of the brain responded to different kinds of words and concepts. And they could group them into rough categories, shown here by the different colours. Dark green bits, for example, were most activated by words to do with numbers, red bits by social words. Here in the right temporoparietal junction, this speck of brain, just a few millimetres across, was found to respond to words like wife, mother, pregnant, and family. And this bit just next door responds to some of the same social words like family and wife, but also words to do with places and people like house and owner. Generally, the concepts represented in each brain region relate to other functions that scientists already know about. So words to do with how things look, such as stripes, are likely to be found near the visual cortex. And although each individual's map is different, looking at these 3 brains, it's clear that different people have the same kinds of concepts in the same kinds of places. This is the first time we've been able to map the semantic systems of the brain in such detail, discovering that words are grouped by meaning, and revealing just how complicated and widespread the word maps in our heads really are. And the brain map is available online for anyone to explore.
Isn't that cool? I think that is so cool because you get to really see that all of that language that you're developing with your students is getting situated. And when you are developing bilingual students, think about how much of the brain was filled with the words in the first language, and now you're adding the second language onto it. And what we know is that the second language sometimes sits in different places than the first language, depending on the kind of language it is. For example, languages that have symbols, like Chinese, actually reside in different parts of the brain than words that are phonetic or languages that are phonetic like English. So it's really fascinating. And what it helps, I think, us remember is how important our job is in making sure that students have experiences with the language enough for those words to stay. Because if they don't see the word 10, 11, 12 times, it's not going to build a path in the brain. So making those decisions, when we choose vocabulary, let's choose words they don't already know. I observe so many classes where teachers are teaching words that students already know. It's not a good use of time. Teach the new vocabulary, not the words they already know. Teach the words they need, the words they're going to see everywhere and that are relevant. So if you're teaching a unit on recycling, of course, that vocabulary is very important. If your students are taking a TOEIC or a TOEFL test, that's kind of the language that they're going to need. It's going to depend on you to know words that students can't guess. So if it's a direct cognate to Spanish, then it's not a word you really need to teach. They know that they can probably figure it out. And that they can use the words more than once and that they lead to thinking, all right? When you're thinking about words to teach, you don't have to do the work. There are so many lists that are available that have been made, and I've made some for you also. So when you get this presentation, all of these are clickable links to these lists. And these are lists with high use, top use English words. So you want to look at these lists and compare them to what your curriculum is telling you. Okay. We also want to think about strategies. Okay. There are student strategies and there are teacher strategies. On the student side, we know they need to learn how to look at dictionaries, look at pictures, you know, using tools like Quizlet and all of those to do flashcards to reinforce the meaning. They need to play with the words a lot to learn them. You as a teacher want to think about some explicit teaching. Tell the students what the words mean. Sometimes, though, it comes up through context, through readings. It can also be something where you create an activity where they have to listen for to understand the word as well as produce the word in speaking or writing. So building the vocabulary across all of that. So what I call some, just maybe the really top important things you want to do when you're teaching vocabulary. Number one is limit the number of terms you use. No more than 2 a day, maybe 3. If you give students 10 words a lesson, they're not going to learn them. They're cheating, and they're going to forget them. So restrict yourself to the language they really need and make those lists shorter. When you have those 2 or 3 terms that you know you're going to present, prepare those student-friendly definitions. There's nothing in the world as good as you explaining the word. For them to try to use the picture dictionary or go online, it's never as good as you explaining the word. So give that definition in student language to them. give them a chance to figure out words through, let's say, a reading activity or a speaking activity, so that it's used in the context. It's not just a list of 3 or 4 words that are floating, but they actually connect to whatever topic you're working with. Create activities so that students have to identify words, especially using pictures. Visuals are so rich for learning. Think about a chance for students to recycle. If I've presented these 2 words on Monday and I have 2 more on Tuesday, how do the Monday words come into Tuesday? How can I keep weaving them, bringing them back? How can I fathom that? How can I imagine it? So I, as a teacher, if I have 25 vocabulary words, I can't even remember them to use them. If I have 5, 6, I'll remember them and I can use them in my speech too, and that helps reinforce the language. And another thing that is super useful is a personal dictionary, a notebook where students keep track of their own words that they are learning, and they can do a lot of different things with those words in their own dictionaries. Okay. So let's try some out, okay? I'm going to teach an expression, and I'm going to do it while I show you a couple of activities, okay? So I'm going to get you to try to guess the vocabulary I'm going to teach, all right? Take a look at my meme here, all right? Me when my mom starts being rude to the person that's just trying to do their job, okay? So that's my meme. What is the vocabulary, do you think, that goes in that spot? Nice. Okay, so what vocabulary am I teaching? Ashamed. Excellent idea. Embarrassed. Anything else? Okay, nice. All right, horrified. Disgusted, tired. Okay, so here, when I look at the meme, I can tell who understands a word by whether they are selecting the word that goes with this sentiment or this emotion, right? So embarrassed, to feel embarrassed. Okay. We're just going to fix that. Who's not on mute? And we'll try to fix that. Okay. Now, when I first learn the word, I need to do a lot with the word in order to kind of access it. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm giving you a link in the chat. Okay. All right. And I'm going to ask you to try out, and you don't have to open the link. You can just use what I have here. And I want you to try to fill this out, okay? I'm going to give you a minute or so you can take your paper and you're going to put to feel embarrassed in the middle, because that is the vocabulary that I'm teaching, okay? So you're going to see, can you fill out some of these different items? Can you give a context for using this word? Is there similar vocabulary that you can think of? What does it sound like to you? Is there an opposite? Can you put it in a sentence? Can you draw a picture? What part of speech is it, that word embarrassed? And how would you say it in Spanish? Is it a cognate or is it a false cognate? Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute, and maybe you can hold up your paper when you're done, or you can make a copy of the document that I shared. And I'm going to give you a minute to do that. Okay, so we're going to take like a 2-minute break. I'll let you try to work on that. And we'll work on whoever is not on mute. Okay, awesome. So can you complete all of this, and I'm going to be quiet now so that you can work on it. Myself. So we're giving you about 2 minutes or so to see how you do with this.
Teacher, excuse me. I'm confused. What is the activity that I have to do? I did not understand.
Okay, it's
if you can repeat what we have to do, please.
No problem. You're looking at the screen. Do you see how it says to feel embarrassed, like in the middle of it? Are you able to see the screen? Okay. So what you're doing is you're looking at my screen. I have to feel embarrassed in the middle, and I have these boxes where I'm asking you to do something with that vocabulary item, embarrassed. Can you fill out those boxes? Can you put on a context for the word, what it sounds like, put into a sentence? And then I'm going to call on some people to share what they have. And you can just write it out down on a piece of paper. If you'd like to try to copy the document, you can do that too. And we're giving you just a couple of minutes break. It's fine. You don't have to tell us if you're having internet problems. We know you're having internet problems. Just do the best you can. If you need to leave, you can always listen to this on the video. I don't want you to feel, more stress. If you're able to try this out, then it would be great to see what you come up with. Okay, so take your time. Okay. So those are 8 different things I've asked you to do with the word embarrassed. See if you can do a few of them. If you are able to do all 8, that's wonderful. If you can just do 1 or 2, that's fine too. Okay. I'll give you 1 more minute. Okay. All right. So let's see. Does anyone have, I see Josiah. Josiah, do you want to do, you tell me which one you want to do. Do one of these boxes, and then anyone else who would like to share your answer for another box, then I can call on you. Okay, Josiah, you choose which one. Which one will you do for us?
Okay, the first one, my favorite actually. How do you say this in Spanish? It is a false cognate because embarrassed is not embarazado, which means pregnant.
Yes, I learned that the hard way.
Exactly. Some people think embarrassed is embarazado, which is not, because embarazado is pregnant. Embarrassed is avergonzado or uncomfortable.
Okay, so how would you say the whole expression in Spanish? To feel embarrassed.
Me siento avergonzado. I feel embarrassed. Me siento avergonzado.
Okay, can you?
No embarazado.
Right. Can you do it exactly as it is here in English? Not I feel, but to feel. To feel embarrassed.
Okay. I don't like to feel embarrassed when I am in class.
Definitely not.
Or in Spanish, if it's in Spanish, sentirse avergonzado.
There you go. Sentirse avergonzado. Perfect. And that's a great test too, because students will let you know if they understand the to feel part. Sometimes they will say the part that you're saying, like embarrassed, as embarrassing instead of embarrassed. We know we've talked about that in this class before. A lot of people say excited or exciting and get confused between those. So those are really common things to look for. And like you said, Josiah, I had that experience where I was embarrassed and I said estoy embarazada, and it was like, what? You pregnant? You know, it's like, no, I'm not pregnant. I'm not pregnant. So it's very important. Okay, excellent. Awesome. So how about Yanira Suero? Do you want to give us another one?
Hi, yes. So do you want to choose one, or do I get to choose any?
You get to choose.
Okay, so put it into a sentence. So I wrote something. I was using a cat filter in Zoom during my audience as a lawyer, and I couldn't disable it. So I felt so embarrassed. That is a way to put it in a sentence.
Excellent, excellent. Yes, so I was teaching on Zoom and I thought I was on mute, but actually I was screaming at my son and I realized, oh my God, I'm not on mute. And so I was so embarrassed. Excellent, excellent, Yanira. Okay, Maria, which one would you like to do?
Similar vocabulary.
Okay, great.
I brought a charm, shy, and uncomfortable.
Okay. Shy, uncomfortable. And what was the first one?
Charm.
I'm trying to think of what that is. Ashamed. Ashamed?
Shame. Yes.
Ashamed. Shame. Okay, yeah. Ashamed, shy, uncomfortable. Those are all really good similar words, synonyms, we could say, similar vocabulary. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Conrado, what do you got? Which one do you want to do?
Well, I think I could give a context. I think that, for example, I wrote, me, when my son makes some noise when I am teaching.
Yes. So a context for using it. Go ahead.
A context, for example. So I got confused about this one because I was thinking about the context. It was just about changing the information. Me, when my mom started being rude.
Yes, that's context. Exactly, Conrado. Perfect. So when my son is making noise and I'm trying to teach.
Exactly. When I'm teaching, my son usually goes and makes some noise, and then I feel uncomfortable with this one. Because my son, interrupt my class.
Yes. And so that's a great use of a context. You did not use the word embarrassed. You didn't make a sentence with embarrassed, but you showed me that you understand the idea from the context. Excellent, excellent. How about Janet Luperon? Hey, Janet, you can pick anyone that you want to do.
Okay. Opposite vocabulary.
Okay, great.
Proud. In this case, proud.
Proud. Okay. That's a good one. I feel instead of being embarrassed, I would be proud of the situation. Very nice.
Yes.
That's a hard one to do an opposite as well. Very good. Shameless, unabashed, comfortable. Excellent. Really good. Okay. I like proud. That is a good one. Interesting. Okay. I saw something too in the chat. I just wanted to say another situation or context. My husband told my friends that I don't like to cook. That made me embarrassed. Okay, so, all right, nice. Loide Martinez.
Yes.
Okay.
I want to make part of the speech.
Okay, tell us.
It is a verb
Mm-hmm.
and an adjective.
Okay. Now tell us in this situation here, which one is it? Like on this, how I have it here, to feel embarrassed.
A verb.
Okay.
And it can also be an adjective because it's saying, how do I feel?
Yeah.
It's describing how do I feel.
Exactly. How do you feel? I feel embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. So that's that adjective use, right? If I use it as a verb, then I actually am going to embarrass my daughter. So I'm the mom. I embarrass my daughter when we go shopping. She doesn't like to walk with me. She walks behind me. No, she doesn't. She's very good. But that would be a way I would use it as a verb. I am embarrassing to my family, that kind of thing. Okay, excellent. Marlene Reyes, how are you?
Hello, everybody. I'm okay. Well, I think the last one is, what does it sound like? In this case, are we talking about sound or are we talking about appearance of the phrase or something like that?
No, this is just pronunciation.
Okay, cool. So to feel embarrassed, that's what I think.
So how would you, if you had to write how it sounds like the pronunciation, could you put that in the chat, Marlene? Put it in the chat. How
it's like phonetics?
Yeah.
Okay, so the whole expression or just embarrassed?
Just the embarrassed.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
And we can help her too, if anyone else knows kind of how it's sounding. Oh, Leori Ramirez, nice. Embarrassed with that T, right? Ooh, I'm typing in the wrong place. Embarrassed. Yes, very good. And all of that would be fine. You don't have to use official phonetic alphabet, but you're getting that. You know that.
I did it like embarrassed.
Yeah.
A-E.
Embarrassed. Yeah, and we can use that, what we talked about, the pronunciation activity, embarrassed, embarrassed. And it has that T sound because of the S there. And that's what turns that into the T sound there at the end. Wonderful. And does anybody have a picture that they want to show on the camera? Oh, Mariela, show us your picture if we can see it. Oh, yeah, with the little squiggle mouth, like, oh God, I'm embarrassed. Really nice. Or let's see, Lloyd has one too. Ooh, she's an artist. That's awesome. So the person is sort of like shameful, like looking down. Or maybe it's, when you get red, very red in your face, you're blushing. So it could be that kind of embarrassed. Awesome. Okay, so you notice that we did a lot with the one word. We did 8 different things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 different things. And remember we said how many times we need to practice to learn a word is 10 times. Well, we just did 8. So if you just practice a little more, the student is probably going to learn that word. All right. But we don't give students enough time to really develop these different ways of thinking about the word. So we can think about how to do that. Okay, wonderful. Let's see, once students do something like this, they can do something like roll a word. I don't know if you've ever played this with the dice, but you basically can roll the dice. Students can play the game together, and whatever number they get, they have to do that action. So I'm also going to show you, let's see, this is a really nice, get this to go. This is a nice dice roller. I'll give this to you in the chat. Okay, so you can, I'm going to use one dice, roll the dice. So I can roll, I can do that also online. And so I can even do that activity. Let's say I'm not in person with students. So if they get a 1, they have to define it. If they do a 2, they have to use the word, whatever. Exactly. And charades, there's so many different games that you can do. Once you build up these different aspects, then students can play with the words. Another thing is analogies. So which one is right here? Embarrassed is to humiliated as frightened is to blank. Okay. So you can have students make these. So analogies are really good cognitive kind of activities. Santo Domingo is to the DR what Washington, D.C. is to the USA, etc. And students can make their own. They can also work with you. Perfect. Terrified, exactly. So it's a degree of power there in analogies. Okay, another type of degree is something called shades of gray, which is using something like those paint chips that you might get at the paint store, and you place the language along some kind of a continuum. So let's see if you can do this. Which one is stronger? Which is not so strong? Okay, they mean something similar to feeling embarrassed, but some are stronger and some are not as strong. How would you put that? So you can do number 1, 2, 3, 4, see what you think. Okay, let's see. So number 1. So we're going to do number 1 would be like the less strong, and then it would go 2 a little stronger, 3 a little stronger, and 4 would be the strongest of the word, of the meaning. And it'll be interesting to see what you all put and what I'm going to ask a couple of my teachers to see what you think as well. Okay, so remember 1 is the softest, the least strong, like the color is a little lighter, and then it gets more intense. It intensifies as you come down. What do you think? Got a bunch of different answers. So I am going to call in a couple of people, and whichever of my teachers that you feel you want to try to do this as well. How about, I think I called it Jose Rosario? Can I call it Jose before? I can't remember. Jose, why don't you go ahead?
Well, feeling embarrassed, I would say number 1.
Okay, and what would be number 2?
Discomfort.
Okay. 3?
I would say feel awkward.
Okay, and then 4?
So feel mortified.
Okay, so you feel for sure that mortified is the strongest.
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
maybe because of my Spanish, something like that. I feel like that.
Yeah. Okay. So very nice. I think number 4 is going to be mortified. Mortified is like you want to die, right? Muerte.
Yeah. I want to die.
Oh, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. So that's really, really, really strong. Excellent. So I agree. I'm gonna put at number 4, mortified. Okay, now let's see. What do we think? Denny, what do you think would go in number 1?
Well, my opinion is feel awkward.
Okay, feel awkward. All right. Now, were you kind of trying to decide between that and something else for number 1?
Well, only discomfort.
Okay. So Denny's saying, I think it's discomfort or maybe awkward. And where would you put embarrassed?
Number 3.
Yes. Okay. So if you say 4 is mortified, 3 is embarrassed, now we're getting down to 2 and 1, and we have to decide awkward or to feel discomfort. And that's going to be tough. So now I'm going to go to, which one of my teachers wants to tell me what you think before I volunteer you? Any of my co-teachers?
I can go.
Okay. What do you think?
I would put for number 1 discomfort.
Okay.
Because it's kind of like it's like it just seems very mild. Like if I go to the dentist, it's like, oh, discomfort. And then I would put awkward, then embarrassed, and then mortified.
Okay. Any other of the teachers agree, of my co-teachers, do you agree with that?
So I actually disagree.
Yeah.
I think that when I hear discomfort, the word that I immediately associate it with is uncomfortable. And I think that being uncomfortable with somebody sounds worse than to be awkward with them. So I would say, like, if somebody feels awkward to me, that's 1. Whereas if I say somebody makes me feel uncomfortable, I would want to like flee the room.
Okay. Okay, good. Any of the other teachers have an opinion on this? How you would grade those?
I agree. The uncomfortable, the discomfort and awkward, I wasn't sure which is worse. The other two, it was easy. Mortified is, of course, is the worst, but some of them you have to think about it.
Okay, nice. So the idea here is it doesn't always have to have a right answer. As long as it gets students to think about language. Sometimes when we make things so easy, it's A, it's B, it's C, it doesn't really allow for more discussion or thinking because language is very dependent on context, you know. I might think, well, discomfort, I feel a little weird, but whereas awkward, it's getting worse. Embarrassed is worse, and now mortified is the worst. So maybe 3 and 4 we're sure about. 1 and 2 could be interchanged. There isn't a right answer, but it gets us to think about words. So you can use this activity with lots of different expressions and words to get students to really think about the meanings. Okay. So thinking about memes, because students do love doing them. I don't know if you know, we've been talking about Marvel in the last few weeks. If anyone remembers this situation in Guardians of the Galaxy, where Drax says, "Oh, you must be so embarrassed right now," and he laughs at him. Okay, so what you can ask students to do is to pick a meme, create a picture, or you can give them a picture. You can ask the students to not use the vocabulary word or to use the vocabulary word. You see here the word is in the meme embarrassed, okay? But in this one, students, let's see. Okay, so it can be at the next level, just being able to show understanding, like a picture, a sentence, etc. A little more advanced, being able to do more than one thing, maybe 2 or 3 things like you did before with embarrassed. And mastery, you know, you can use this word as much as you want. So students can rate themselves on their mastery of words, as well as you assessing them. So I love the memes. These are great. Me when my husband passed behind me in a towel while I was in a conference. Oh man. Okay. Yeah, there's some good ones. Conrado, that's big time. All right, let's go to the last one, the last slide, and then we're going to go into our breakout rooms. And just make sure, I think maybe if you can make me co-host as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go over to back to our breakout rooms. And these are the questions I want you to talk about there before you leave for tonight. So the first question is, what do you find challenging or difficult when you are teaching vocabulary? And number 2, when you are planning vocabulary lessons, what are some questions you have or concerns? So we're going to go into the breakout rooms. If you're not able to make me a co-host, because I'm not seeing breakout room for me now, then can one of you open the breakout rooms? Are you able to do that, Cora, or
I think I can. I can't make you a
Kelly or anyone?
co-host because I'm not the official host, but I think I can do breakout rooms. Oh, it could just be the same rooms as last time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we can open all rooms.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Okay, so before you do that, this is what's happening. If you need to take a picture of these questions. Your teacher in the room will have it as well. So I want you to go to the breakout room and have more of a conversation about what we talked about tonight, anything that you want to share about teaching vocabulary. And then you can go for the night, and I'll see you again on Monday. We're going to be talking about reading, teaching reading. So when Cora opens the breakout room, please join the room. If you are here in the main room, it doesn't help. So I would leave if you're unable to join the breakout room, okay? Maybe if you come back in, we can put you there. All right. So the problem is, though, if no one can make me co-host, I'm not going to be able to help with the breakout rooms or participants or anything. I don't know if Professor Valdez is here. I know he had a meeting, so I'm not sure if he's here on the participant list. Maybe let's take a quick look.
He's on the participant list and he's the host. So I think if we can get him back, that might be our only way to have a full host.
Last time, Mr. Rodez, for example, assigned by regional. region. Example 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and so on.
I think we might have lost Laura again, or Laura.
All right, so I will say goodbye until next Monday, and thank you so much. And that was a perfect example of getting embarrassed. So to feel embarrassed, that was great. My
Don't say
internet
that,
went out.
teacher.
That's okay. It's okay. You know, let's practice.
No.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second, please. Valdez is coming in a minute.
It's not assigned anyway.
Hello. Hi, Laura. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Professor Valdez.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
We do.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Sorry, I was out of connection. Laura, how can I help you?
So Laura, I think we might have lost her again.
Oh, right. She's having issues. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to open the breakout rooms, but then we needed you as the host in case people have
let's do that.
getting into their rooms.
Let's do that now. Hold on.
All right, great. So I'm going to open all rooms.
I'm going to open all the rooms. Okay. Are we ready?
Perfect. Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
Professor
Here
Valdez.
goes. Sure. Go ahead. Rooms are open now. You can go in. Okay, is everybody going in now?
It doesn't show up on the screen.
Yeah, it is actually. All rooms are open now. Yeah, people are showing now. People are just getting in. Give it a try now, Luri. Click on the 4 squares at the bottom of your screen so you can see the breakout rooms.
I don't see my breakout room.
You have to click at the bottom of the screen. There are 4 dots. There are 4 squares. Just click on the 4
I don't have it.
squares. Are you using a
Me
phone?
neither. No, they're not there. They're
No,
not
it isn't
there.
there.
I don't have it too.
It isn't there.
There isn't any.
No, it's an issue with your app because I have more than 150 people in the rooms now. Everybody's going in.
I'm not able to see the breakout rooms. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the thing is, again, I'm going to ask you for the next session to try to update your Zoom application because I have more than 150 now in the breakout rooms. Then you have to become familiar with the app. If you're using Zoom, I'm going to ask you to possibly just go on a tutorial for Zoom and you learn how to click on the breakout rooms. Usually they are at the bottom of the screen. There are 4 squares, but it all depends on whether you have a phone application, a tablet, or a computer desktop application. So I would just recommend your updating Zoom. And as I suggested earlier, getting an account. Because if you do it on the browser version, then it may be even harder. You have to try to do it on the installed application on your desktop.
But I was able to get into the breakout room before today, but not now.
It doesn't have to do with updating, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
I was in the breakout
It
room.
doesn't.
One question. Can you access any of them? Or do you want to go back to the same room you were at before?
Anyone.
We don't see the options.
Interesting, because most people are inside now.
We don't have the choices to enter now.
Right.
I don't
That's
know what
interesting.
happened.
Okay, let's do something. Let's see if I can.
It might be due to connectivity issues.
Yeah, it all depends also on the strength of your signal. Signal is pretty strong here, though.
But not only does it have to do with our signal intensity, but the host's intensity too. It used to happen when I'm teaching. Sometimes I open breakout rooms. Some of them don't open when my internet connection is deficient.
Okay, let's see if I can assign you to one of them. Let's see if I can do it one by one. Okay. I'm gonna be doing it one by one. I'm gonna be assigning you to the different rooms now. Don't worry, I'm gonna do it one by one. One sec. Okay, I'm assigning you one by one to different rooms. So you'll be landing there in a second. Anybody who's not assigned will be landing in a room just now. Very well. Santos still out here. Let's see. And so is Jose del Carmen and Ovaldi still here. Let's see who else is not assigned to a room. I'm working it out just now. We have Rosa Antonia Viña. She hasn't been assigned, so let's send Rosa Antonia Viña to room number 5. Okay, pretty good. Now we have 21 here. Let's see who else has not been assigned to a room. Okay. All right. Now, let's see. Rosanna, I have assigned you to a room 2. So that's number 7. Pretty good. Okay, I need you to turn on your microphones, please. Turn on your mics, everyone. Laura, you're back here?
Yes.
I had to put most of them on 7 different breakout rooms. They are
I'm here. I'm here, teacher.
Okay, pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. Now, it's okay. Let me just bring Laura up to speed. Laura, I had to put most of them in breakout rooms with the other instructors. So they are now in the breakout rooms.
Yes.
And we only have 14 of them out here with you, 15 now with you, okay? You take over. Okay, good.
Okay, thank you so much. So I know some of you are not able to join the breakout room. If you want to share anything here with me about teaching vocabulary, any questions, any thoughts that you have from tonight's session, you're welcome to do that here. If you are not able to, to go over to the breakout rooms. So feel free to do that. You can use the chat. You can unmute your microphone if you want to share something. If you're not able to see join breakout room on your Zoom. We got through basically everything to the last slide, so that's good. Before my internet died here. And if you want to make me a host again, Juan, I can try to check on the people who are in and out of the rooms. So,
one question. Most teachers recur to translating vocabulary instead of demonstrating meaning in a basic level of English. Why would you recommend teachers? Because the issue of translating the meaning of vocabulary has usually been raised in many workshops I've given. What could you tell us about that?
Well, one of the things that we looked at today was using a lot of different approaches around the words that we're learning. So when we talked before about the expression to feel embarrassed, we gave similar words, opposite words. We drew a picture, we put in a sentence. We also looked at what it means in Spanish. So I think the translating can be very efficient at times, but it's not enough. It's not that it's wrong to do it. In some cases, it's very helpful, but I think you have to go beyond just a translation. You want to make sure you're doing a lot of practice in English with the word, whether it's acting something out with your body, looking at visuals, looking at situations. When would you be embarrassed? What situations are embarrassing? So that they're practicing the use of the word as they're reinforcing the meaning, which you're going to want to do through those meaning-based activities, those experiential activities in English. So we talked about word lists and how, just taking a long list of words and translating them is not going to give you mastery of the word. We really need a lot more practice, about 10 to 12 times of playing with the words. So those kind, it could be, doesn't even matter what it is. It could be games, it could be skits, it could be any of those things are helpful to reinforce meaning so that students can retain the words. And when you translate, you have a meaning, but it may not be the right usage of the word, the way we might use it in English. So that's why you really want to give a lot more of those surrounding words, the context for the words, how formal the word is or informal, all those kinds of things when you're practicing with vocabulary.
In teaching children, usually, we find that translating provokes big confusions because children are learning vocabulary naturally. And then, for example, kids in 3rd, 4th grade basic school, they're learning Spanish. And what they usually do is that they do not correlate meaning when you say a word in Spanish and then in English. They tend to get confused. In my experience when teaching young kids, when teaching children in general, we try to demonstrate meaning, especially for abstract concepts, because there are objects that you can easily demonstrate.
Yes.
But then they get confused and then they keep code switching. Translation usually provokes a lot of code switching in children in particular. In my experience here in the Dominican Republic, we tend to basically try to demonstrate meaning rather than giving them a translation, because a word may have many different translations. And then kids get a lot of confusion about that.
Yeah, I think too what happens is when a teacher is relying on being able to translate, they stop being as planful with their activities. It's a lot more preparation to think about, what do I need to get meaning across? What pictures will I need? What tasks? A little video? What do I need to show in order for students to learn this word without me translating it? Because what happens with the translation too is that period of English instruction, let's say it's not a bilingual school, but it's a school where English is, the period of English is the only English they're getting, and most of it is in Spanish, then you're really losing a lot of that instructional time that you have with them, because all the times that you're translating, et cetera. It also creates a lot of dependency on the teacher. So it creates this, teacher, I need you to do this for me, as opposed to different strategies that students can use to try to cope when they don't exactly know what a word means in English. How do they manage to keep the communication going? That kind of thing. Yeah.
That's right.
Jose del Carmen, what's happening with you? You weren't able to join your breakout room?
Excuse me. Okay, teacher. In some occasion, hello?
Hello.
Yeah. In some occasion, I teach really. Hello?
We're here.
Okay. When I'm reading today and I'm trying to define words, give them definition in English language, the majority case. But in some time, it's like to say Juan Valdez. In Dominican Republic, a student only want to learn the meaning in Spanish language. But when you try to make definition English to English to them, they consider you are rude with them. And yeah, and this is the case that I'm trying to teach them in this way, looking for vocabulary, and they try to use English to English, no English to Spanish. Okay, I try to them understand well the meaning of the word in English language, English by English. What do you say about us?
Why do you think they think you're being rude? Is it because it's more work for them?
Because in other school, other teacher only teach vocabulary, English to Spanish. The majority of them only try to then use the meaning of English to Spanish, but I consider students don't acquire ability speaking in English because they are thinking every time in Spanish language. I remember when you choose the brain picture, when you have many words in your brain, okay, you can talk friendly, but when you don't have nothing, you are using Spanish, English, you are confused because when you are talking, you are thinking in two-way, okay, two-way. You need to thinking first in Spanish language, then translate to English language. But if you are learning well in English, you can speak fluently. It's my idea.
No, I hear you. I think it's very similar to what Professor Valdez was saying, even, you know, with young students, that there's a few things in what you're saying. One thing I think is creating situations that that seem realistic for their students, where it almost is set up like a game, where we're not going to use any Spanish, the dictionaries are all gone, and you have to figure out, you know, whatever. And they have to go like from point 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they win the points when they get to number 4. And maybe they're working together in a partner or a team or something. So if it feels a little like a game, maybe they can be a little less resistant. I think a lot of it is insecurity. You know, the teachers maybe that always just did it in Spanish, maybe they didn't really know another way to present it. And it's easier to just do it in Spanish. And then the students think they need it. They think if you don't give them the Spanish, somehow you're hurting them from not just giving it to them. But it's really a culture, you know, in the classroom. I think that from the very beginning of really explaining to students, and I think students could come to understand why, yes, sometimes you do need to do a translation, but most of the time you don't. How much more to be using in the classroom, that you're really there to make them feel more powerful in English. And if they have to translate every word, they're not going to feel very powerful to communicate. So it's kind of like, you know, a little hard at first, I think, because the culture of your students is influenced by the other teachers they've had too. So for example, Jose, in some of the schools here where we're teaching Spanish to English speakers, there's a rule of, it's called 90%. The teacher has to be in Spanish 90% of the lesson, or the supervisor comes and says, you're in trouble. So the students and the teacher understand it has to be almost always in Spanish, the classroom. And of course you're trying for 100%, but if there's no expectation of using English the whole period, then it's very hard for you, you know, as a teacher to be the one teacher trying to do that. You know, it's a cultural shift too, expectations, I think.
And it all begins in primary school, Laura, because most of the teaching in this country is done by grammar translation. It wasn't until a few years earlier that, honestly, the communicative approach of English language teaching was actually implemented here. And most teachers begin because of the lack of resources too, because if a teacher is only giving a piece of chalk and a board, all he can do is basically translate because he has no teaching resources to demonstrate meaning. If you want to teach a student what a card is, for example, there's no teaching materials to show a picture, a drawing, a video. And then since teachers are mostly reliant on chalk and board, there's a very little they can do, but it all actually begins in primary school. If students were taught in that way, 90%, for example, in English, and only 10% in Spanish, teachers would also become resourceful. But they also need teaching materials, especially in teaching vocabulary. Comprehensibility is another issue here. Students complained honestly because, in my technical opinion, teachers need to design their classes in a way that they be more comprehensible. They need to use total physical response, they need to use prompts, they need to use pictures, they need to use games, and they need to demonstrate meaning rather than translated meaning. Because vocabulary in primary school is very simple and sentences are not complex. However, since teachers, again, are only reliant in chalk and board, they may find it harder. And then since students don't build a culture of having to learn vocabulary by discovering meaning rather than translating it, then that builds up and then it scaffolds up to high school. But that is part of what we intend to address in the upcoming school year. If teachers have flashcards, posters, and more teaching materials, video, for example, it'll be easier for them to only or mostly speak in English and not so much in Spanish. Spanish is necessary. Your native language is necessary for clarification, for example. If you actually, in the end, fail to demonstrate meaning and they honestly do not acquire it, then you can end up by making a clear translation of something just for clarification. But in my research, what it shows is that the reason why teachers recur to Spanish and students demand it is because they don't have enough teaching materials to help them in demonstrating meaning rather than translating it.
Well, I think it also goes to what you were talking about earlier, which is expectations and confidence of the teacher, and really getting enough professional development support that even if they have very limited materials, that their mindset is for, as you were saying, really using the language communicatively, making a game-like, setting up situations where students are going to be able to use the English rather than just trying to translate things. And that takes a lot of shift in professional development.
We have a saying here is that, in fact, what people end up doing is teaching about English, not teaching English. For example, TV lessons here and radio lessons. I have said that TV and radio lessons are not teaching English. They are teaching about English. Because saying a sentence and then translating it and saying what it means is not teaching a language, it's teaching about the language. And that's something that's going on too.
Oh, I lost. Okay.
You're here.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true. And I think it's very hard too to maybe like Jose is saying, to create the communicative classroom when you didn't experience it, when your colleagues aren't creating it. That's why this network of all of you as a community are so important to each other, to support each other in creating those really dynamic English lessons wherever you are.
And you mentioned supervision. That's a very interesting thing, because you said earlier that if you're learning Spanish in the States, your supervisors expect you to have a 90% rule. There isn't such a thing in public schools in the country. Language teacher supervisors are very few, and they don't have the time to visit all the teachers in all the schools. And there's not even a protocol of language teacher supervision. There is basically monitoring what they do, but there's no actual supervision or coaching or pedagogical accompaniment where teachers can be given feedback as to how to improve, for example, the teaching of vocabulary, which is another aspect of English language teaching in public schools that we intend to develop in the upcoming year. Language teacher supervision and coaching is key, for example, to help them in doing what you just said. If teachers had someone who told them, visited them and told them, listen, why don't you do a game-like activity like this, even if you don't have a book or materials? Let me show you. And then the coach, the supervisor, is key here too, because creativity, it's necessary, but people run out of ideas. When you have a supervisor, that is very helpful.
Mhm. Oh, I think you're on mute. To unmute on. I think you're, oh, there you go.
Yes. Again, teachers, if you have any comments, questions, Jose had a comment or question. I would like to hear from the rest. Arabelis, go ahead. Arabelis, go ahead.
I'm going to talk about something.
Right.
You know, good evening, everybody. You know, we have some problem in this country because only start or begin to teach English about 5th or 6th grade. And it's hard for us when we was in high school to change the mentality of the students. They never think that they are learning English. They always say, no, teacher, I don't know English, please.
I'm not American.
And then it's the mentality. I think it's the mentality of the human or this country to think that they can learn English or they can know about that language in the public school.
Right, because it's about learning
they
expectations.
Say, somebody yesterday told me, teacher, I'm going to go to the institute to learn English. Then they think they can in public school.
Well, there is no evidence, Arabelis, to be straightforward, there is no evidence that English has ever been learned in public education in the Dominican Republic. So people recur to other methods. And Laura was talking about the word culture. A culture is built by evidence. If 60 years of English language teaching in public schools, there has been no learning whatsoever, people believe what they experience and see. So you have to understand then that, you know, learning expectations in public schools have a very low level. I mean, people do not, nobody expects to learn English in public schools in the country. And that is why we're doing this program, because we have to begin to debunk that and to change that. But that's going to happen gradually. And of course, you have to walk your talk. What I mean by this is we have to begin showing the Dominican Republic and showing families that it is possible, that the reason why it's never happened, it is because, honestly, English language teaching and not teaching, the subject of English language in the Dominican curriculum is a simulation. It's just there for a subject's sake. It's not, you know, taken, it has never been taken seriously. Despite all the hard work you do and all the professional development you get, it is a matter of priorities. Like right now, this school year, the Ministry of Education developed materials for science, mathematics, and Spanish. And no materials whatsoever were developed or given to English language or French language teachers, because foreign languages are considered as a filler, as an extracurricular activity in schools, after all. So what we need to do, in my opinion, is to begin to change that mentality, which has a reason to be, and do it systematically. If you know the problem, it is a lot easier to solve it. We know the roots of the problem. We just have to change that. And what we intend to do, basically, number one, is to get families, the Ministry of Education, and the people in general to support English language teaching and learning in public schools. And gradually, as we demonstrate that it is possible, that mentality, that culture is going to change. But we have to preach with the example. We have to show results. And if there are no learning expectations, there is a reason for that. And it's obvious. It's all the evidence in 60 years. But we can change that. I insist, when you know the root of the problem, it's a lot easier to solve it. And we know what the problem is. We know what the root of it is. And we are going to change that. But as educators, we need to be objective, and understand that the reason why students act like that is because obviously and honestly, no one has ever learned English in public education in this country. And we have to be honest. Since we know that, I believe it's even easier to solve the problem because you know what the problem is. In my experience, 13 years ago, when I did my pilot program with 134 schools, it was incredible what happened when students began to speak some little English in public schools. The whole mentality changed. Families were happy, directors were so happy. They did shows, presentations, just to show the community that public schools, wow, they're just doing conversations, they're singing songs, they're writing poems, they're doing games in English, things that you can only see in a bilingual school. So this is going to change. But again, we have to be objective and we can't deny reality. Since we know what the problem is, let's just begin one step at a time. Laura?
What can I say after that? I just want to thank everyone, all you tired, amazing, wonderful, beautiful teachers